Welcome to the Startup Support Surgery podcast, where we light the entrepreneurial spark in medics and healthcare professionals. Join me, Dr. Jo Watkins, GP, business coach and co-founder of The How People, on a journey to discover where your medical know-how meets the business world. This will help you find some clarity on how to balance work, passions and family so that you can gain more freedom and control over your life, but also continue to help people, which is actually why most of us went into medicine to start with. Embarking on this entrepreneurial adventure is not easy. It is a roller coaster of emotions, but it's hugely rewarding and exciting in the process. Drawing on my 20 years of blending medicine and business as a GP, I am here to share experiences, insights and lessons. Expect lively chats, expert interviews and real-life stories from medics who have taken their own path. Let's break free from traditional healthcare norms and explore more innovative ways of making a real difference to people's health and well-being, along with paving the way for a brighter future for us as healthcare professionals. Oh, don't miss my free PDF called From Stethoscope to Startup, which is an 11-page guide in the show notes full of practical help and advice. This is your roadmap to kickstarting your journey with us. Enjoy the show. I am delighted to welcome one of my online business heroes to be interviewed again on the podcast. I love bringing these brilliant people into this room and sharing with you their tips and tricks because I have learned so much from Liz and people like Lisa Bean and Kate Toon, who've been featured in previous episodes. So I want to share that all with you. So Liz Melville is a highly regarded online business coach with over 15 years of experience helping online course creators and experts build successful businesses. Liz is now, as you will hear, on a mission to help midlife women regulate the stress of life and release what's holding them back so that they can rise into a business and life that fully supports them. As a side hustle, she also personally manages millions of dollars in ad spends for 6- and 8-figure entrepreneurs, including influencers such as James Wedmore. And that's how I first came across Liz to start with. When she's not doing either managing somebody else's $1 million ad spends or working on her own business, you will find Liz mostly paddleboarding in the middle of a Scottish loch, chomping chocolate or chilling at home with her husband, son, cat and Labrador puppy. And on my random fact about Liz that she shared with us today is that she is a fully qualified dog trainer. Is that right, Liz?
That is correct. Yes, I have of some 15 years.
Really? So you must have the best behaved dog in the world, correct?
No, I don't. I absolutely don't. He's a big soppy Labrador. He's neurotic as anything. And I wouldn't say he's always well behaved either. So I'm not sure that's a testament to my skills.
Stick to the day job then, is it?
Absolutely.
Brilliant. Oh, well, I'm really, really thrilled to have you on. So thanks so much for giving up your time and for coming along to tell us a little bit more about you. Obviously, we've been connected for quite a long time. I think I must have first found you through James Wedmore, which I'm sure is going to come up in conversation. I've been in your Ads on Fire and I follow you and I think you're fantastic. And I've got so much I want to ask you, but just tell, the listeners a little bit more about how you got here, a little bit of background, and then we'll go into what's going on now more specifically.
Yeah, cool. I mean, I started my own business back in 2010. And at that point, I was made redundant from my corporate role because I wanted out, and then thought I still need to earn some money, better start my own business. And did that. And that was initially, it was social media. And I would have, helped businesses, any type of business with any type of platform on social, just anything that would make me money. And I think gradually over the years, that's evolved into niching down, getting more specialized, that it went to just Facebook marketing and then really into paid advertising on Facebook as well. But I've always done a lot of work with this kind of strategy side and how do you actually grow an online business. And I would say that's my kind of superpowers, to kind of look at what's happening and spot how you can simplify it, how you can make it so much easier and scale it. And that's really, I guess, what I do now, and particularly for women, because I think we have a particular melting pot of things to deal with on top of trying to grow a business. And it's how do you do that in among all the noise? So yeah, that's the kind of potted history of the last 15 years.
So you kind of most famously, historically, have been known for your Facebook ads and meta ads. And I'd love to ask you a little bit more about that, as well as talking about this piece that you've talked about women running businesses, particularly women in their 40s and 50s, the juggle, the things that can kind of send us curveballs. And, I'd love to get really into all of that if that's okay with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's start with ads. I have and my I'm going to get straight into it because I think it will filter down. But my audience generally are medics and healthcare professionals who are starting to look outside of the NHS, starting to think about getting out there as a personal brand, maybe bringing their skills, professional skills, maybe lived experience into something that is able to help people in a different way. Most of the work that I do is that initial kind of setup, confidence building, this sort of niche piece. And you've mentioned that you went from corporate and you started helping anyone with anything. How important do you think is that differentiation between actually just getting out there and doing it versus knowing exactly who you're going to help to start with?
It's a great question, Joe. And I think I probably took the approach of, that sounds like something I'd love to do, social media, because back in 2010, it really was just coming the crest of the wave. It was taking off, particularly in the UK. I think the US was ahead of us. But social media as a marketing tool for businesses was really just beginning. And I was hugely interested in that because I'd been using Facebook for a little hobby business that I had and telling friends and family what I was doing. And I could see that from a business perspective, how that could help people. So that's why I chose social media marketing as my kind of my own business. Now, I did go with I just want to do it. And I just want to get out there, probably without really thinking through, is there a market for this? Who do I want to help? And I think while I'm a great believer in taking action and that will create clarity for you in what you want to do, I think you also need to just take a pause and think about who you really want to work with and who your ideal audience is first before you get too far into it. Because otherwise you end up trying to speak to everyone and talking to nobody. And I think it's so important for your messaging and resonating with people and bringing them into your world and growing your business to be very clear on who it is you're talking to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say take action, get in there, but have a bit of an idea about where you're going and who you want to talk to.
Yeah. So clear, strategic action. And I think in this world, like you said, 2010, this was the beginning. We're now, in 2025, and even in the online world and the course creation, AI has come along and jiggled things up even more. It's a different beast, isn't it?
It really is. It really is. And I think that's the thing, you start out, you get an idea of what you want to do for your own business. And if you've got even that inkling of who you want to help, that can change and that's okay. It did for me because I started out with everyone and gradually niched down in what I was doing, what I was delivering as well. So I almost niched down into the audience I wanted to work with and what it was I was helping them with. So that will evolve and that's okay. But I'd at least from a starting point have an idea who you want to work with.
And let things evolve. And, you've got to be brave and take those first steps, haven't you, when you come out, particularly of the corporate world or the healthcare world or this supportive place that you've been. You've got to be brave and take action, but making sure that you think about these things early on, who you're going to help. Is there a market? Like you said, that whole action creates clarity. You've got to be doing the work. You can't sit behind it, can you? And create and then hope that everyone's going to find you.
Yeah, it's that whole build it and they will come. They don't. Yeah, you actually need to do something to get yourself out there. And I think particularly for women, that can be a really hard step to take, especially if you are in a corporate world or you're in the NHS and you've got teams around you who are doing their own specific roles. And then suddenly you're doing your own thing and you are it. You are the marketing department, you are sales, you are accounting, you are everything. And you've got to show up and be visible to be found. And that can take quite a bit of guts to do that.
Yeah. Okay, so when we're looking at that sort of organic reach and getting out there and telling people what you're doing, and then we get into this sort of paid marketing space, how important is it when you're thinking about Facebook ads or Google ads or Meta ads, sorry, or Google ads? How important is it to be clear on your audience at that stage, or are they a good thing to do when you first start out?
So I wouldn't go with Facebook ads when you first start out. Two reasons. I think it's better to test out your messaging, what feels right for you, what's resonating with your audience, do that organically. So just show up on social, and it'll be raw, it'll be messy, it doesn't matter. Just start saying something from the heart. But you'll start to see which messages are landing with people, which ones that they're going, right, and that's not for me, or yes, you are for me. And I think when you know that, that's the point when you can say, right, I can turn that into an ad and get it to even more people. But don't test out your messaging by paying Facebook to do it. And the other side of that is, if you're just starting out, you want to get some cash flow behind you. You want your business to be in a place where you can spend money on ads and it's not going to leave you destitute. So I'd absolutely do those two things first, test it out organically, your messaging, and then when you've got the cash flow, reach a wider audience and a bigger audience by turning to paid traffic at that point.
Yeah, and I think there's a message in there as well about having that understanding of what you're doing, isn't it? Because I've never managed to get my head around that Facebook ad dashboard. You know, I've looked at it with you, and I've looked at it with other people. I've got your training, which is excellent. It is a bit of a minefield, isn't it? It's not for everybody. That it's a bit like somebody that loves a spreadsheet. Some people just absolutely geek out on Facebook ads, but it's not as simple as just one option, is it? It's a bit of a minefield.
It's not, and I think we lump it to this one term, Facebook ads, and it's just an ad that goes out. But there's actually so many different types of Facebook ads that you can run, and it's really important that you tell Facebook exactly what it is you want to do with your ad and the type of person you want to reach, because it will do that for you. It knows, it's got so much data on its audience and our behaviors and whether we're likely to buy something or just sign up for something or just watch a video. So when we give it that nudge and that information, it's important, and it will then go and find you the right people, even without an audience selection. I mean, it's getting so sophisticated now. Facebook's actually removing a lot of targeting selections that you're almost going quite broad, but the algorithm knows where to find your people as long as your messaging is speaking specifically to them. So that's why it always comes back to that. Do that first, hone that first before you get into paid traffic. But Facebook ads are becoming ever more technical. The AI is putting a whole new spin on this. And there's a lot of fear around doing it. But I think what people don't often realize, I myself hate numbers. I hate detail. I don't like spreadsheets. What bane of my life. But for me, it's about, how do you simplify Facebook ads that they're not necessarily easy, but they can be simple if you follow set principles of how to make them work, and that you cut out all the noise of looking at the data to tell you whether they're working or not. So that's really what I'm all about. But it all starts from your messaging. It's so important, because
Yeah.
I'll often say a Facebook ad is not going to put glitter on a message that's already weak or poor. It's not going to turn it into something great. It's just going to amplify something rotten. So you really got to start, from the beginning, get your message right.
You can't polish a turd. Isn't that the expression?
I was going to say that, but I thought, should I do that on a recording? I have been known to say that. You can't polish a turd.
Yeah, so true. So, for those of you that are, I think people, it's hard. We all want a kind of quick fix or a like shortcut to get to this sort of endpoint that everybody's trying to reach. And the bad news is that there really isn't one, and that this messaging comes every single time. It comes back to that, doesn't it? Is what you're saying landing with your audience? Do they understand how you can help them?
100%. And I have so many people say to me, well, my Facebook ads aren't working. Facebook ads don't work for me. My audience isn't on Facebook. Bullshit. They are. It's just that you're not saying the words that they're identifying that they are for you.
Yeah. Okay, great. Love that. So that's how we kind of met. And you actually run Facebook ad campaigns for many people, including James Wedmore. Whenever I see any of his ads, I'm like, oh, I know who did that. So that you're in some
That's
you're
me.
doing some big things, aren't you?
Well, James is. I'm just merrily running his ads to promote them. But yeah, he's obviously very prolific on online, and it's a deep honour and a privilege for me to run his ads, and I have done for, I think I'm into my 8th year of doing that. And I learned so much just by being in that world and seeing how he runs a launch. And I think that's what then allows me to take that to my audience as well and to my students. So it's a huge privilege.
So let's talk about that movement now, because I've watched over the last sort of 5-6 years, I've watched your direction slightly changing, and I'd like to talk about sort of where you are now and the kind of people that you help. But I think one of the things you've talked about on social media, one of the things you've written about in your newsletter, is this kind of these life challenges that come along and knock us sideways and happen, particularly for us in our 40s and 50s. How has that impacted you, your business, everything?
I mean, I don't think you can underestimate it, but nobody talks about it. And you don't know that it's coming over the horizon until it hits you. And I think that's been my experience. So it's particularly just in the last 2 years that I would say my world has shifted on its axis. And it really makes you take stock. So in May 2023, my mum suddenly took ill and was hospitalised. And 3 weeks in, we thought she was going to be coming out. She would need a care package. 3 weeks after that, so after 6 weeks in hospital, she passed away. So that was quite a shock. And that then put me into the situation where I was dealing with the life admin that comes after death. And there's a lot of that that you don't realise until you're in it. But also being a carer for my dad who had dementia and was living with us. So it was sorting out care for him longer term because we weren't equipped to deal with that, specialised enough to deal with that, which we quickly came to realise. And there's a lot of emotional stuff going on. And in the thick of that, your livelihood depends on you running your business. When you, at a time when you haven't got the emotional bandwidth to do it, you haven't got the time to do it because it's all consuming, like dealing with life. And I very quickly realised that, and ironically, I was actually in the middle of a launch for James when all that happened and was spending thousands, tens of thousands of dollars on his ads every single day while I was doing the daily trips to the hospital, looking after dad. And then after mum passed, all that came with that. So that was a hugely stressful time. And it squeezed the time I had to work on my business, but there were things that had to happen that only I could do that had to be squeezed in somewhere. So you end up just stretching yourself thin and squeezing all that into the tiny moments in between when people have gone to bed. And it's not fun. And that was quite a prolonged period of time having to do that. So I looked at, so something's got to give here, and I don't want it to be me, but it was feeling like it was going to be me. So it really made me restructure my business. It really made me look at who do I want to work with, and how do I want to work with them? What kind of offers do I want to put out that I can do it, that it hasn't got to be me in the business, that if I need to step aside, that the business isn't going to crumble and I'm not going to see my income that I need going down through the floor. So that really put me, and then it's when I started to talk about this and what I was experiencing, so many women that I talked to who had stayed silent, that they were dealing with children who had died. Menopause itself was a big, big thing that just saps your energy. You can't think straight, and it affects everything you're doing. And there are days when you do not want to be working in your business, but because you've built it in a way where you are the business and you have to be in it to make money, you're trapped. And I thought, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way. So I figured that out for my business, what that looked like. And I thought, I really, really want to help other women do the same thing before they hit that crunch, before they're in it and it's too late. So that's really what's been driving me for the last 2 years. And then my dad, which was inevitable, it was almost like, it's going to happen. He passed away in April this year. So while that hurt probably just as much, if not more, losing a second parent, feeling orphaned, and the emotional stuff that comes with that, my business was in a different place. It was more streamlined. It was much more simple. There was probably less reliance on me being in it, that I could step aside with it and I could be by his side without having quite the impact. And that's really what's driving me now. It's what I want for other women, Jo, that no matter what's going on in your life, because I know that even if somebody's losing a loved one, your experience of that is not going to be the same as mine was, because it's so intricate, our relationships with other people. And it might be a relationship breaking down. There's so many things that hit us, particularly in midlife, that that experience looks very different, but the principles of what your business needs to look like to support you through that are very similar. And I think it also made me reflect on how important it is that you take care of your own internal state to get through that. Because I had days where, well, not even days, weeks, months, where it felt like there was this constant heaviness and tension in my chest, where it's like, I just want rid of this anxiety. I want it to go away, but I couldn't shake it. And it's really hard to go about your day to day when you're coming from that place, to make decisions that are grounded, that are calm, that are good and sensible. And I've joked about it. It's when you open the fridge door and you can't remember why the hell you went in there. You take that into your business, making decisions about the direction of that when you don't know what you went into a fridge for. It's horrendous. And my savior through that was almost DIY, looking for breathwork exercises I could do that would just calm me down. And that honestly was what got me through. It just gave you those little moments of calm in the hecticness that would allow you to ground yourself and move forward, even if it was just that one step. So that's what I now really, really want to bring to people.
I love that so much. There's so much there, so much gold to talk about. And thank you for being so honest and sharing that, because I think you're right. I think people muddle through. I've often said there's this period of time when I think in life, when you're in your kind of like 20s or 30s, maybe starting a family, maybe younger children, and we share and we say, oh, I didn't sleep either. And, I'm potty training, and you have this sharing experience that's completely acceptable with young children. You then move into this dark age of teenagerdom. And, people start not wanting to share in case their teenager's not quite doing the same thing. And then you enter this next chapter, which we cannot, if we take a retrospectoscope, you can kind of predict it's coming. The teens growing up, leaving home, the problems get more complicated and difficult. And then you add in this caring role, people dying. It's really difficult. And all of that is in this hormonal mix. And I'd like to talk a bit more about the hormonal mix, but you talked about being trapped by your business. And I think that is something that I really try and help people understand, is that when you're building a business, you don't want to be building yourself like a really difficult job that no one else can do. You want to be building yourself something that can support you. Otherwise, that feeling of trapped is tough, isn't it? But you must see that again and again with people you work with.
All the time. And even I've done it. But the thing is, you do it without realizing it. And I would liken it to, if you decide that you want to paint your floor or revarnish a wooden floor in your house, and you start and this is great, and you end up, you're doing it, and the next thing you know, you've actually gone backwards and you're in a corner and you go, oh, I've just got wet paint around me, I can't get out. And I think that's what we do with our businesses. We start and we're all excited and we build this structure and we build these things, and I'll do that and I'll help them with that and I'll go and do that over there, and we add on all the layers, and then we realize we've built it around ourselves and we can't get out, because you are the one doing all the fulfillment, you're the one doing 90% of the operations. And that can be a really hard habit to break, I think, particularly as women, because we are not known for asking for help when we need it. And I think and I see so many women doing that. And it's exactly as you said, it often we'll share our woes when it's about raising children. But when you get to that point, when it's all the other things and the hormonal mix coming in and you're going, oh my God, this is just not what I expected. This is not what I built and I can't cope. We don't ask for help. We still keep going, oh yeah, I'll help you over there. And family phones up, need help. Yeah, I'll go and do that too. And we pile on all the emotional responsibilities and the physical responsibilities and the mental responsibilities. And more goes on and we just go down. And if your business isn't built on solid foundations, it's going to sink.
Yeah. Someone in a group I was in the other day talked about feeling like a table. She feels like that, just that sort of thing that is gradually bowing under the weight of everybody else's needs. And I think that, that analogy we have to be very, very careful of. And I think now we're living in a time where people are talking about the menopause. We are looking at wellness. We are looking at this whole like selflessness of looking after ourselves. If we don't look after ourselves, then everything else will fall apart. We'll need to talk to you about breath work for sure. Because I know you've done something exciting recently. But this menopausal mix, how have you seen that change in terms of what you've wanted for yourself and your business as you've gone through the menopause? Many of my clients are in their 40s, heading perimenopause, menopause. Have you found the menopause has impacted you from a business point of view, as well as looking in the fridge and not finding anything?
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. I mean, I've always looked after myself actually pretty well, and I've always really enjoyed exercising, walking the dog every day, getting outdoors in nature, fresh air, all of that. So I've always been quite proud that I'm in relatively good shape, especially for my age now. But menopause and perimenopause, what that does to your energy levels, that absolutely took me by surprise. And it's that when you wake up in the morning, you've had a really good night's sleep, you're still knackered, and you go, why is that? And it's your hormones. It is your hormones just adjusting. And I think we always associate perimenopause, menopause with the hot flashes and the mood swings and all the memes that go around about women wanting to stab people just for saying hello. But I think there's all the other things that we don't talk about and you don't realize, and just how tired you can feel even after a good night's sleep, even after exercise, even after self-care, that you're still just want to just lie in bed or sit and watch Netflix. And I think the typical advice would be, well, you've just got to push through. You've just got to push through. But that can really feel like wading through treacle because your body is just not in the place where it wants to do that anymore. And I think we need to recognize that. You need to find a different way of doing things. And I think for me, the impact was I almost beat myself up because it was like, I'm lazy. I should be working hard in this. I should be further ahead. I just don't feel like it. I've lost my mojo. I've lost my purpose. Maybe I'm doing the wrong thing. And you start to doubt things and, the self-confidence starts to tumble. And that's an easy slide to get on. And all is hormones. It's all hormones. Men don't experience this. But how many of the influencers and the experts that we're following to get strategy advice and how to grow our businesses are men? And that's no fault of theirs, but their worldview is completely different. And I think even a 30-year-old woman would give different advice to what a 40-year-old, 50-year-old, 60-year-old woman needs in running a business. And I think that's a space that's just sadly lacking.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. But I think there's a lot of us out there who are talking about it. But but almost in little bits, it's like there's a lot of people who are specialising in menopausal care and how you navigate menopause, but not the effects that menopause actually has on you running your business and your livelihood. And I think that's the thing at the end of the day. This is your livelihood. Yeah. If that goes down, you lose your security, you lose your income, and all the knock-on effects of that. So it's a huge impact. And I think it's interesting that in the corporate world, I think they reckon that 40% of women over 55 who leave their jobs are doing it because of menopause, and how they're feeling about themselves, unsure, uncertain, lost, and there's no support. Now that's in the corporate world. What if it's your own business that you're running? There is no HR department. there's definitely no support. So what do you do?
Yeah, and it's the same for those life things that get in the way as well. Bereavement, difficulties with our children. You know, if you're in the corporate world or the NHS, you might take some time off sick to be able to sit there at the bedside, to be able to manage the stuff afterwards. But when you run your own business, you can't. So, you know, what you're offering is really that support network, as well as the, you know, practical tools, but a support network to get people through this tough time. Because actually there are some incredible women. I think, you know, women in their 50s are just this like proper superpower of a cohort of people, aren't they? Like huge amount of lived experience, often, you know, professionally at the top of their game. It's about moving into this space because, you know, you don't go back to how you were before. You're living this transition and moving into a different phase of your life, which has different challenges. And we've got to look after ourselves, but also look after each other, because it's bringing that community feel back to it, isn't it? It's okay to talk. It's okay to feel like this. And you're right, not everyone has hot flushes, and does, you know, has those some sort of somatic symptoms. Sometimes it's much more subtle. It certainly has been for me anyway. So I love what you're doing. I think it's amazing. You've talked about breath work. I'd love for you to tell me, because I know you went on this amazing ice diving trip. But breath work is something that is now becoming talked about by medics, right? Medics used to be thinking, oh, you know, breath work's what kind of hippies do. But, you know, I relatively recommend some sort of breathing exercises in most of my consultations around anxiety and depression, and bring it into our normal day-to-day life. So tell us a bit about your kind of breathwork journey.
Yeah, so my breathwork journey, it's a strange one, because it's almost like I hadn't realised I'd been on a breathwork journey until recently. But it probably started about 5 years ago when I had my first true breathwork experience on a retreat, as part of a mastermind that I was a member of at that time. And we all laid down on the floor and we did a full conscious connected breath where you're basically over inhaling, you're over breathing, um, and the CO2 levels in your body can create some real release, and not necessarily hallucinations, but you certainly release a lot. And I described that at the time as it was like having an exorcism, because I was lying there thinking, well, this isn't doing anything, and I'm doing the breathing the way I'm being told to do it. What the heck's this all about? And it's almost like the rational brain's dismissing it. And then all of a sudden, I found myself swearing. I was shouting at a person from my childhood, and a trauma with a small t, I would say, but still a trauma that had been caused, that has really affected me my whole life in terms of my own self-confidence in speaking up and not being laughed at or judged. And this was all coming out. This was all coming out. And I was in floods of tears, the puffy eyes, snotty nose, everything. And it was like, what the hell just happened there? But didn't really do anything more with that. But except for looking at, well, without being as extreme as that and having a full breathwork session like that, is there something around the breath that I could do? I did a little bit of learning about why did it have that effect? Because I'm like that. I need to know the nuts and bolts of why things happen scientifically and rationally. And the more I kind of read about why breath can have that kind of effect on your body just by breathing in a different pattern to what you normally would, and all the different ways that you can do that to have specific effects on the body, it was eye-opening. So I think when it came to the point where I was anxious and I was, you know, in a bad place going through the loss of mum and dad, and I was almost like, well, okay, what can I do breathing exercise wise to calm myself down just as I'm walking into that hospital ward, that I'm going in with a smile on my face to see mum, and I'm not. I was, as I say, I was DIY research about what would work, and it was working. It might only been for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but it was working. And I kind of came out of that experience going, I really want to learn more about this. I want to learn the full thing, which is kind of what I did with Facebook ads. It's like, I want to understand how to do this. I'm going to conquer this. So I've been undergoing a breathwork certification. I'm not through it yet, but I'm just discovering so much that already I can help other people with, just from a functional perspective of breathing correctly, because most of us don't. I mean, that sounds absurd that, we all breathe. We do it without even thinking about it, but we're not breathing properly. And when you do, that in itself can have such a huge effect on how calm you are. So I think that's the kind of journey I've been on, but I'm so passionate about it. But I think along that way, it's a very long, garbled journey because it's not clear the path. I also got myself into cold water therapy because it was suggested to me, not necessarily as it proves I can do hard things. I don't see it as that. It was more about, people were saying about how the calm and the clarity it gave them to get in the cold water. Now, the way to prepare to get into cold water, as has been made popular by Wim Hof, is to do the breath work first. It is about calming your system, that you can get into the cold water and almost regulate your state. So those two things started to work in tandem for me from a personal practice and perspective. And that led me to the ice dive in Finland in February this year, where we learned really at a deep level, how do you use the breath to get yourself into icy cold water? I mean, it was 0 degrees, 30 centimeters of ice sitting on top of the water. And we dived in through one hole and under the ice for about 10 meters and came up the other side. That's an experience most people don't get to do. It's an experience most people wouldn't want to do. And your body does go into fight or flight. It's like, what the hell are you going to do? Put yourself into that icy water. But using the breath to get into the state where you were going to do it. And that for me was just a transformative experience. I almost can't describe it, because for me, I just felt a calling. I wanted to get into that hole. I wanted to get into that water, and I wanted to go under that ice. I wanted to experience it. And it felt like going back into my element. But it's made me realize just how important breathwork is, predominantly, but also cold water, in what it can do for your health, your clarity, your mindset, all of that. So I'm really deep into looking at how can I bring that into my retreats to really help women ground themselves, kickstart their nervous system, that you're not stuck in fight or flight, that it learns how to get out of that and into a calmer situation and be healthier. And that then allows you to make better decisions about your business, come at it from a place of clarity.
Yeah, I love this. So it comes full circle essentially. And we've got these tools within us, and this is available to us. Our breathing is available to us 24 hours a day and can make a massive difference in every aspect of our life. So anyone that links up with you and might come on one of your retreats, this is probably going to become more and more of a part of what you do. I guess up in Scotland, you've got this great place that you host retreats there. Is that right?
Yes, I do. It's a beautiful, gorgeous old house on the banks of Loch Lomond. And we ran the first retreat in October last year. Second one's coming up in October this year, because there should have been one in May, but unfortunately I had to cancel that for obvious reasons with my father. But yeah, that first retreat was predominantly business strategy and doing masterminding and helping people simplify, and everything that I'd learned about how to build a business that sustains you when you need help, when your mind needs to be elsewhere. So we were looking at all that, but one of the girls had said, I would love to go into the loch. Could we do that? And I said, yeah, no problem. She said, I'm a little bit worried about it. And some of the others were like, yeah, but oh my God, it's going to be so cold. I said, look, I know enough about breath work and how to get into that. I'll help you. We'll go down, we'll do it. And we did. And yeah, you walk in, it's like, and I was helping them calm down. Okay. And then it was, for me, seeing their facial expressions change from, oh my God, to, oh, and I don't want to say enlightenment, but the realizations that they had about themselves coming out of that. I've had some of them, message me months after, going, it was that moment that has given me the realization of what I want to do, what I really want to do in my business. And I was feeling quite lost, but I'm now so clear, just by the effect it has on your nervous system. So I was like, right, okay, this is now going to be a formal part. And I think that's really evolved in the last 12 months, that's not just a someone wanted to go into the loch. You come to one of my retreats, you're going in that cold water. And it's overcoming that fear, which is natural. But just to come alive within yourself again is such an experience.
Wonderful stuff. Wonderful stuff. Well, we have covered a huge amount in a very short period of time. We've talked about Facebook ads. We've talked about grief. We've talked about menopause, talked about breath work. We've talked about business strategy. I could talk to you for hours, but I always try and keep under kind of 40-minute mark. But I would love to know from you, you know, if you were talking to your younger self, maybe your corporate self, or maybe, you know, me or somebody like me 10, 15 years ago, you know, what would be your advice to somebody kind of starting out in this business world, making their first steps, taking their, you know, making their first decisions, deciding, just what would you say to them? What do you think would really help them on that first step journey?
I would say don't overthink it, that you get into paralysis by analysis, that you're sitting and thinking about who should I help, and I don't know who that is. And so just pick someone, just pick the low-hanging fruit. And if that needs to change, that's fine, but just pick something and go. But do pick something. Don't just think I'm going to help everyone and anyone, as I did. So I would definitely start there. But I think also trust yourself. Listen to yourself and what you need first, and not be told by other people what they think you should do, because they're not you. And I think, you know, that's been a long time coming, but that's something I've definitely learned, that even the most successful of people, they're successful because what they did worked for them and their lifestyle and what's going on in their lives and how it suits them. That's not necessarily going to translate into your life and what you're dealing with. So I think at every stage of your journey, just check in with yourself. Am I doing what I really truly lights me up and that I love to do, or am I doing what I'm good at? Because there's a big difference. And yeah, just stay on that path, but don't not do it because you're worried you're doing the wrong thing. Do something, and just go for it.
Amazing. Well, Liz, how do people find out about you? Where is best to follow you? How can people get on your newsletter? That sort of thing.
So if you email me at liz@lizmelville.com, I'll get you onto the newsletter. Just let me know you'd like to connect. And you'll find me on Instagram at _Liz Melville. That's the best place to come and hang out with me.
Great. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. Hugely appreciated. I know there's going to be a lot of great feedback about this podcast. So thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thanks for having me, Jo. It's been lovely.
I hope this episode has sparked some new ideas or challenged your thinking. Transitioning from medicine to business is not easy. It's about adapting our skills while embracing the unknowns of entrepreneurship. It can be nerve-wracking, but remember, you are not alone on this journey. Please feel free to reach out to me via direct message on LinkedIn or Instagram, or just shoot me an email at jo@bendylegs.com for support. And don't forget to grab the free PDF from the show notes, From Stethoscope to Startup, which is your go-to guide and resource for diving into entrepreneurship. Many thanks for tuning in. I will see you next time. Thanks for spending your precious time with me.
This has been a Monkey Pants Productions podcast.